Welcome to the InStory show. I'm Devorah Spilman, your host, and today I am thrilled to welcome Christy Karate. Hi, Christy.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be with you today.
Well, you are a perfect guest for this, and we'll get into that in a minute. But first, I just want to explain that our theme for spring is quantum imagination, what I call the untapped human superpower that will give you access to creating a life that is filled with joy, meaning, purpose that lights you up. And this is this power I believe we've always had, and we are going to tap into it now. And Christy, you are just a beacon of that. So I'm going to read a little bit about you and then we'll dive into your story and your work.
Perfect.
Christy is an international speaker who has shared the stage with Dr. Michael Beckwith and Mary Morrissey, Dan Millman, author of The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. She is author of Beyond the Box and The Creative Way in 5 Minutes a Day, a vision-driven program to awaken creative thinking with a daily practice, and creator of tangible tools for success. She's an expert at helping others make amazing changes. Christy loves helping clients discover and express their own unique gift and share it with the world, and so much creative art in your world. So, all right, what I would love to hear is, I love to hear from us really creative folks. Did you have this creative aspect of yourself, like from when you were a child, and were you able to keep expressing it? Did it get shut down? Like, tell us a little of your story, like I say, how you got from there to here.
I have always been creative. I mean, I think I came out of the womb being creative. And my parents were really wonderful in as they didn't want to direct what we did. And that's very unusual. Even with my husband, his parents wanted him to be a doctor, right? And my parents always just allowed me to be creative and expressive. And I was always joyful. I was the playful one and the creative one, and I always was thinking up great things and making lots of things. I ended up creating, my father was a machinist and I got to learn how to use machinery. I was always building things. I was always coloring things. Color has always been a very important part of my life. And yeah.
Well, so then what happened? Were you able to carry that all the way through your life? Or tell us a little bit more, because often I find that even if we have that, I mean, you're lucky you got it supported in your family, but what about the rest of the world?
Well, it actually wasn't my creativity that got shut down. I actually had a grandmother that was very, very forward thinking and really metaphysical in so many senses. And I grew up believing that's the way everybody thought. And it was actually that aspect of my life that got closed down. I think I always was able to hold on to the creativity, but the spiritual work, the transformation, that was always a part of me until I got into middle school and realized people started thinking I was really crazy and weird. And so I had to normalize myself.
Mhm.
And that's when I let all of those beliefs get in and start to shut me down.
That's a great expression, that I had to normalize myself. Oh, yeah, yeah. So I'd love to hear about how like, do you have a point where you realized you could stop normalizing yourself, so to speak?
Yeah, I uh, going through school and college and everything like this, and I always held on to the artistic piece of it, but I felt like I had to put the spiritual part of me behind me. And yet I wanted to move from Seattle, Washington to Southern California to go get into my art career. And I had an experience where I had met some friends and they invited me to go hiking with them. And I had found a place and a mentor, Dr. Peggy Bassett, uh, and this big community to begin exploring my spirituality. And that was new and refreshing. I go out with this group of people, not even from that community, but still, they were a little bit more spiritual, say, than I had been hanging out with. And we went out to go on a hike, and I was a city girl. And I, I, have to carry my own backpack. It's like, how do you pack light and all these things? And there was like 14 of us, and we gathered at this campsite, and we were hiking into the high Sierras. Somebody had left their vehicles on the other side, so we were not coming back to this place. We were hiking over and hiking over. I'm a novice, right? I have no idea how to be an outdoors girl, right? So I was very slow. I was the last one. My friend that was my host, I guess you'll say, he actually got wanted to sit and talk to somebody. So he told me to go on up ahead and he'd meet me at the campsite and to stay high and to the right. And so I did what I thought I was supposed to do. And all of a sudden, I come to the end of the trail, and in front of me are I'm at the edge of a cliff, and there's a valley, and then there are these high Sierra peaks covered with snow, and it was scary. There was nowhere to go. If I took a step forward, I would fall off and I would die. I mean, this was life threatening, right? And so first I start freaking out and I'm shouting and my voice is echoing back to me. And all of a sudden I went, oh, wait, I've been learning about this meditation thing. Maybe I need to calm myself down and maybe I need to call on a higher power. And I threw off my backpack and I looked around because I was so new to meditation. I thought you could only do it by laying down. So there was this rock. And if anybody knows the High Sierras, all the rocks are very jaggedy. But there was this platform with jaggedy rocks. I put myself on this laid back. It was painful, but I knew this is what I needed to do. And I just began centering myself. And as I did that, I had this experience of the water, which was supposedly filled with Gerardia, right? So I couldn't even drink water, right? But the water from the stream nearby started flowing into me. And then those high mountains started flowing into me. And then the clouds from the sky came flowing into me. And all of a sudden, I had this realization that they're not here to hurt me. They are not, their intention is not to bring me fear, not to harm me. And once I got to that place, I had been doing lots of artwork around goddesses and things like that in my art, exploring the spiritual side of the world. I had this goddess come to me while I was laying there, and she looked at me and she said, when you try to go forward, you're lost. Go back to where you came from. And all of a sudden, in that moment, I realized I know how to get back to where I was. Now, they weren't going to be there, but I knew that there was a ranger station there and other people were camping there. At least I wasn't in this dire situation. So I picked up my backpack and I went back to where I was, and I sat and waited. And eventually, so this friend of mine had sat and talked with this other person for quite a while. He shows up at camp and goes, where's Christy? And they're going, she was with you. And so they all came back and they spread out and they came back to that place where I had been. And then they took me, and he wouldn't let me out of in front of him, right? And actually there was other experiences that came on that trip that were really profound and amazing. But what I learned from that is the power of the imagination, not the of the image, I mean, the power of the image, that I could use that image of the goddess. And I do, I do feel there is that energy, but the image can be so powerful in our lives to transforming it. And that's why I eventually went into art therapy, and then also now have become an intuitive artist, helping people with the symbols that I create by intuiting with them to help them discover what's in their way. It's not me, it's them finding the wisdom within these images.
So I love that story so much because I think it's so powerful. Those intense moments that just hone in where what we really have access to.
Mhm.
Um, I have having been lost and got rescued story too. And it does really hone in on the spiritual. I had a different experience, but it was also about realizing that people were praying for me, not just my prayers were answered, but the people praying for me, their prayers were answered. And that was significant, like that sense that this spiritual realm is so real and so powerful. So did you become able to talk about it more after that experience? Like, how did this start, this more spiritual, more metaphysical, knowing that you have, did it start to become more possible for you to speak of it?
Yeah, it became it is who I became. So I was on a path. This mentor and teacher was most amazing in my life. And through that, I ended up going to manifesting, if you will, going into a one of the top art schools in the nation and expressing my art. And all of my art was a very much a spiritual expression and a spiritual journey. My final exhibit was actually where I created goddess images and 7 stations, and people entered into the room and were able to move through these 7 stations. And just, it became everything that I was and that I did.
Wow. All right. So now take us to the beginning of the pandemic where you said there was also another kind of turning point for you.
Yes. So, but what happened to me was, although I would do this work, I always was trying to find the mainstream or the normalized way of doing this work. Even became a spiritual practitioner because that was a path to go down. I became an art therapist because that's where I could bring art into it. And what happened, I say it's my little secret, was that I I was always on 2 paths, being an artist and then helping people, whether through my art coaching with coaching or art therapy or whatever. And it was like, how do I bring my gift as an artist together with my helping other people? And so I made 3 goals at the beginning of the pandemic. Number 1 was to write a book, which I did. Number 2 was to learn to play the didgeridoo, which I haven't mastered the circular breath yet, but I'm still working on it. And the third was to merge the and really truly discover my masterpiece, because my program is called Mastering the Art of Life, and that's what I help other people do, right? So I found a wonderful guide to guide me on a 3-day ceremony where I did this deeper exploration every day. At the end of the day, I would come home and I would do my little sketches, my little drawings that I would do to learn about myself or denote what I was experiencing from the day. And um and then the third day, when I did, came home from doing this. No, it was actually at the end of the ceremony. I had what I call the V8 moment, bonk. I had been doing this in other healing groups when I was a participant, where I would draw, take my little notebooks in, and I would draw for people, and then I would show them these little images. And they weren't my healing group, it was just my peers and so forth. And they would go, oh, now I understand that blah blah blah. And I went, that V8 moment was like, oh, I intuit with people. And that was a big stretch for me after being condemned as of as a middle schooler and beyond, that I could trust my intuition enough to connect with people, but then how to guide them and showing and sharing with them the image to let them discover and find their own answers through that. And I had been doing that in this casual way, and then I was doing it, I'd always been doing it for myself, and it was like, that is my masterpiece. And since the beginning of the pandemic, I've probably done 1,000 drawings for people and helped them discover where they're stuck, what their next steps are. I also do what I call a life design, where I help them in image create that place they want to move to, but more in a vibrational manner.
So that's just so, that's so creative and so it's so interesting how you do that. So I want you to kind of connect that with this whole concept you have about creating your destiny. Like, how does that connect with that bigger idea?
Well, one of the things that people think is my destiny, right? And there's no other choice. So I might as well do anything. Or one of the things that drives me nuts is when something happens and they read that as, oh, it's not meant to be, or
Mhm.
it is meant to be. And I'm like, no, through your acts, your thoughts, your beliefs, you created that to be a yes or a no, not your destiny. And so, what I help people do is to unlock what's in their way. And one of the core things that I do, and what my book is especially about, is I teach the universal laws. And I use the art metaphor, since I'm that creative person, right, to help explain to people how the universal laws work. Because most people like to build their, and they're taught this, we're taught this in school, to build their dreams, their expectations, their methods of doing things on circumstances and conditions. If I have enough money, then I can do this. Oh, if I have this skill and ability, then I can do this. Oh, that hurt me, I'm going to stay away from that. And instead, what I teach people to do, and which is one of the ways to discover your, to reveal your own true destiny, is to start making decisions based on universal law.
So you have steps for this. Like, say a little more about that.
Okay, so I use a system of design, critique, and create. So you want to design your life, right? But you don't just, and so that's why I do the life design and create the vibrational frequency. So vibration is the primary law. The law of attraction is actually a secondary law. It's a tool to help you create the vibration. So you cannot get to your dream. This is one of my Mary Morrissey quotes. You cannot get to your dream. You must come from your dream. How do you create the vibrational frequency of that thing that you want? And how do you keep out all the erroneous thoughts and beliefs that keep you from doing that? So that's the first four steps. I use point, where are you now and where are you going? Line, how do you connect the, that's the steps to get to your new set point. And then shape is where you connect the line to pour your dream into. And that involves, which is one of the key things I have to creating your destiny, is you create a list of assets that you have accomplished in your life. It's just there to support you. And then you have a team of people to support you. And that's like the shape that you pour your dream into. And then number four is color. Color is passion. You run your dream through your passion, and that causes you to move into action and to create that wonderful life that you have the, not only opportunity and privilege, but the responsibility to bring into the world.
So what do you call five then?
Uh, I have to look it up. I always do the
Yeah, I love that because I love image and metaphor so much. I love this idea of point, line, shape. Like, I love when,
so there's 12 in all, and so that was the design. You use those things to create the design of where you want to move towards that life you're meant to live. The next part is the critique, what's in the way. And
Mhm,
so we use value,
mhm,
right? And value is both in the light and dark, but value is also, what are my values? How
love that.
do I live on my value? The next one is form, and that's adding dimension to the things. The next one is texture. Like, how do you add texture? And in that chapter I really go into forgiveness.
Mm,
How do you create your own authentic texture? Well, you've got a lot of, we all have a lot of forgiving to do, right? And then perspective, right? And perspective is like, how do you create wholeness? And then the next part is the create phase. How do you create it?
mm,
Well, you start with balance, and then you have rhythm,
mm.
and then the main emphasis is one of the art principles, right? And then composition. And if you think of it, that's where you have a composition, you still have a main emphasis. And so that's how, and the book has exercises in it, and each one of those chapters has a law associated with it and teaches you how to use that law to create the foundation of your life. I was actually having a session with somebody the other day, and she's a very successful business person, and I said, so what are the things that you can do to change XYZ, whatever her challenge was? And she says, oh, I need to do more speaking. Oh, I need to do. And I said, let's go deeper. What are the beliefs that are holding you back? And what can you replace those with to create a foundation that is built on truth,
Mm.
instead of like the rock and the sand thing, instead of the thing that's going to change? Universal law never changes.
What I love is the way I love the use of image and metaphor. And so if someone's a cook, they can take cooking metaphor, like you're an artist. And I love how you've taken
Mhm.
the metaphor, the actual real detail of what an artist knows and the techniques of it, and then expanded that into a very conceptual place. I think when we do that, people can feel it and hold on to it in a much deeper way. So I think that's so interesting. So I love that you showed that Beyond the Box book, and I think that's going to be powerful for people. And they're going to see what your free gift is and get them started, but then they'll be able to get into your world and find um, all your other stuff. So go ahead and tell us a little bit more of the way that you work with people now that has to do with your drawing, not their drawing. Like that's a whole other thing
I
you
know,
have
and
discovered.
it is a thing that stops a lot of people. Other people, it they want to do their own drawings. And I'm actually leaving in 2 weeks for a trip to Italy, and I will be teaching my group how to do the intuitive drawings for their own meditation and value, right? So you can learn to do that if you're that creative person. But for those that don't know how, the critic just gets in our way. And even when I created this book, The Creative Way in 5 Minutes a Day, it came out because people would say, oh, I can't draw, or I can't draw like you. So I started creating templates from my drawings, and I found a media that could go over that and be light and dark, and they do a drawing meditation. And what happens after I this is a year-long program, after that most people go, okay, what's next? And so then they get their own little tablet of black paper, right? But so how I
Why
do,
black? I want to start. Why black paper?
because I use white pencil and I draw the light.
Oh, you draw the light. What a great image.
Yes.
Oh,
So I draw the light. Would you like to see me do a drawing right
yeah,
now?
sure. You want to do one for like the whole summit, like quantum imagination? Like our whole
Yeah.
summit's called Quantum Imagination, the Untapped Human Superpower.
There we go.
And so, maybe you could do an intuitive drawing for this sense of what's being asked of us in order to be able to open up to this really what I believe is this really God-given superpower gift
Okay.
that we have.
So usually what I do is that people don't see this first step because it distracts them from,
Fine.
really going in, but I'm going to do it with on camera with everybody to see.
Okay.
Okay. So this is where I switch cameras here. And what I tell people, I have to adjust my camera here, is to put your, uh, I have them put their camera on pin it so they can see it large. And so I would just start saying, so this is a summit. So you're going to be the interviewee. So this is a summit about bringing creativity into the world, right? So tell me more about that. Why is that your vision? What do you want people to get out of that?
So I want people to feel that there is an opening to access an extraordinary ability to connect to source, that there is this higher level consciousness that is filled with love for us, with creativity, and that we have in some sense been denied access to it or haven't been trained how to access it. And so to me, quantum imagination is a way, it's like entering the field of quantum imagination gives you access to very powerful, elevated, high frequency, high vibration images, metaphors, and stories that can nourish your soul, heal you, uplift your spirit, and help you find your voice, your vision, and the courage to bring it out in the world in a way that is so unique and authentic to you that it rewires you to have the confidence, like that authentic thing you felt when you were a child,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you knew, I'm creative, I have access to this metaphysical realm, and I'm going to go share it with the world. And then someone slammed you down. Well, guess what? We had to open that back up.
Right.
Right? We get to open up quantum imagination. And so many people are talking about this word quantum, which to me, when I read about it, is the things that we can do that don't take more time and more effort. They happen in a different way. And so I think we all have this gift. And now I believe we're being given the encouragement and the support and the community and the connection to tap into it.
So, as you look at this image and you know what you just expressed to me, what do you think? What's inspiring you? What are you seeing in this image?
So I'm going to say in a minute, but everyone who's watching,
Mm-hmm.
take a moment, and everyone who's watching, write down what you see
Yes.
and what you're getting. And we're going to have a Facebook group with the show. And so it will be really fun if everybody, if you write down a few words, a few thoughts of what do you see that has to do with what I said about quantum imagination for you in this image. And I'm just going to give them a moment to just do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll say what I see. And then we can play by comparing and sharing.
And
So of course,
it'll go a step further after that as well, and they can share the secondary thing. Yes.
okay. So of course, the first thing I see is the heart that you found and colored in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it feels like it's reminding us that this is also an emanation of the heart, and that there's an authenticity to also be found inside ourselves through the heart into the soul. And then all of this beautiful energy that's going upward is showing us how we're connected. And then I almost see like a form from the bottom, like somebody sitting almost, and like almost like it's a person, and there's a head and hair and maybe arms going up, but energy coming down, and that's her heart. Like maybe it's a woman who's like sitting, and her heart, from her heart, is emanating this beautiful energy. And also the purple is like the energy coming down into her heart, and then imbuing her soul and her whole being, and then expanding outwards. And
So, if now this is where I help people really discover what is in the way. So, we see this beautiful image merging out of here, and you even saw this in here. But what if this part represented what's keeping the world? We're going to use the big piece here. What's keeping the world from being able to live in this vibrational frequency? What do you see there? What is the block?
I think the block is being locked into position. I have to sit, like the lower half is like a body being stuck in, like you know how you talked about in middle school, like stuck in your chair.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like the lower half maybe is like stuck in the compliance, stuck in the chair of being a good girl, being obedient, getting approval. Like I'm stuck in this chair so that to my teacher, my boss, my coworker, I look like I'm being a compliant, obedient self. But the rest of me is like, "Fachoo!" But I'm
And so maybe here evolved the dancing legs.
so you mean what can, so right, so then maybe the lifting up of it is right, is stepping up out of that chair. And also as you're drawing it now makes me think of the roots of a tree.
Yes, yes, yes.
right? So maybe then part of it is that I'm not stuck in my chair. I am a tree with deep roots connected to the source in the earth that now links me to the energy from above.
Rounded. So, what is a step that you, as one individual here, can do to make a shift for bringing this into the world in an even greater way? One step today.
So everyone who's watching, sort of think on this answer, like what is one step you can do to bring this out into the world? Um, and I think I think the step is I think the step is not being afraid to say the elevated out of the box truths that come to us.
Beyond the box.
Correct. That beyond the box concept.
We don't
That
need a box, right?
right. Right. We don't need the box, like that sense that we are actually in this supportive community where we can speak this elevated, energetic energy. And I love that it's making me think that you're painting hearts on the branches of the tree. And I'm like such a tree person. I have a whole thing called Blessing from the Trees. And
Oh,
I have a whole teaching about being the tree and then becoming the forest. And I do this whole writings that I send out called Blessing from the Trees. And um, and I think that we get these encouraging messages from nature also that remind us to hear, and you're putting like musical notes, like hearing the music of nature, like hearing the magic in the physical world that connects to this elevated magic, this elevated, really powerful, expanded consciousness. And then these worlds come together. So then we become able to be in this field of quantum imagination when you're walking through a field in the physical world. Like these worlds start to intersect.
yes. Beautiful.
So
So,
fun. Oh my gosh, what a fun thing to do. Oh my gosh, that is amazingly fun.
when I did some changes like this changed into tree roots. Now, one of the things I saw was the dancing person from that, but I don't bring my thoughts in until I the client first sees this. You saw this as a tree, and that it's your drawing, it's your experience of that that's important. And and this, when I drew this and it became a tree, there was a healing that took place
Mm,
just in that. When these hearts came out, there was a healing that took place in this radiating energy, right? When these notes came out, there was a healing just by the nature of the image changing.
mm,
And that is such, I'm going to come back and look at you here. That is such a beautiful thing about using imagery to really heal, yes, but to create joy. You know, these life designs that I do for people. Here, I'll show you one because I just finished this one here. This is, I'll go back to my camera here. This is somebody's life design. This is the energy, the vibration, the frequency
wow.
of their vision for their life. One of the things was, some things are literal. There was a cruise ship in Greece that denotes her freedom to be able to travel. It goes along with financial abundance to be able to do this. This is her 600 authors. This is a healing moment between her and her daughter. You know, this is her team of people that
Mm,
she's supporting now every day. And this is her, and this is her, and this is her family structure every day now. So I digitize these and I send these to people, and I'll digitize this other image that we did, and I'll put it up on the Facebook page. But
beautiful.
people get to look at this every day and know this is the truth of who I am. Then I take this drawing and I say, you know, that's the truth of who you are. Let's critique it. What's in the way? This isn't a negative critique because we are not destroying anything. We are looking what's in the way and how can we transform it, because I will guarantee there is, the reasons your paradigms stay around is because you still have something to learn from them. And as soon as you transfer them, they become your friend, not your foe.
So beautiful. That is, I love doing things that give people an experience. And so that was super fun for me. And I always feel, whichever side I'm on, that when we do a process like this, it holds for me, but it holds for the energy of the whole vision of quantum imagination and that visionary work that we're doing to lift ourselves up into this more elevated place. So I love that. And it's true, you bring everything along and how does it transform? And it was also super fun to watch you draw what I said. Like, just because I'm one of those people who drawing isn't my thing. So it was really fun
Well,
to
it was a
see it.
scribble. I had no idea
Right.
what was going to emerge. And that's, I was actually thinking this morning, I woke up and I said, just one of those erroneous thoughts came and said, it's a good thing in the thousands of drawings I've done that I haven't not been able to pull a drawing out. And
Right,
it's,
because that's your gift. Like I can always do that with image and metaphor, but I don't make it go on a paper. So it was
yeah,
really fun
so
to
nice.
see that. So, all right, tell us a little bit about your free gift because that's going to be super fun for people.
Okay, so this is especially for those people who are creative, but also those who think you're not creative. I have a gift for you called finger painting. And what it is, finger painting to manifest.
Mhm.
Okay. And what it is you will get a document from me that says, get all your supplies ready. What do you need to get ready? And then there's a video that you download. And I go through on the video, I go through with you and teach you how to paint on the piece of paper and how to look at it to see what you want to manifest, how it shows up in the image and the experience of doing that. So finger painting for you all.
I love that. I mean, I remember when I was a kindergarten teacher and so forth, how we would finger paint and everyone went home covered in paint and I got in trouble, but it was really worth it. And but I love that you're going to get us a little bit feeling the paint and outside of that having to do it right and then the ability to interpret that you're going to lead us to it requires us to use image metaphor in order to find what it is, what does it mean, and it's a very powerful tool. And
Yeah.
it's a very powerful aspect of what I mean by quantum imagination, because imagination is going to send us images and coming able to interpret them and trust what we get. I think this process is going to help people with that a lot.
Yay.
So fun. Thank you so much for doing that with us. That was really, really a joyous and insightful and encouraging experience. So I think it'll be fun for everybody to see what you created with me for us all. So
Yes, absolutely.
thank you so much, Christy, and everybody. Get the free gift, share your finger paintings and your interpretations of them with us in the Facebook group, take photos of them, share it with us. And Christy, thank you again. Really, really beautiful.
This is just been a beautiful time together, and I so appreciate you letting me do that drawing for all humanity right now. There was such a healing, there is a healing moment right now. So thank you for letting me share my work in that way.
It's really, really beautiful. I really believe in it. And everybody, as I always say in farewell, remember to go out in the world and share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, everybody.
Bye.